At 2:14 a.m., the alarm was soft at first, a low, pulsing tone beneath the hum of the observatory's ventilation system. The Atacama Desert lay silent outside, endless and ancient under a canopy of cold stars. But inside the mountaintop research station, something extraordinary had just awakened a row of sleeping monitors. Dr. Lena Moravitz jolted upright, her coffee cold beside the keyboard. On the central display, a single spectral line had split into two, trembling, sharp, like a heartbeat in light. Her instruments were locked on the outbound interstellar object known as 3I Atlas, a comet unlike anything seen before. She blinked, once, twice. The isotope ratios were wrong. The hydrogen-deuterium balance wasn't just off, it was impossible. 12 times higher than anything in the known galaxy. Oxygen isotopes twisted into values no cosmic model could explain. And buried deep within, faint but undeniable, was the radioactive signature of IRON-60, the kind only born in the death throes of supernovae. For a heartbeat, she thought the system was malfunctioning. Then the data stabilized. Lena leaned closer, eyes reflecting the eerie blue glow of the screen. This comet, this ancient traveler, wasn't born in our galaxy. It came from a place older than the Milky Way itself. She exhaled slowly, whispering to the empty lab, "Where the hell did you come from?" What Lena didn't know was that in the next 7 days, this discovery would unravel the very timeline of creation, and hint that the origins of life on Earth were not local, but imported from a universe long dead. Asterisk. The hook had already begun. By morning, the data had reached Geneva. 4 institutions connected under encrypted channels: NASA, ESA, ISAS, and the European Particle Isotope Facility. Scientists from 4 continents sat before the same screen, their faces half lit by the spectral graph that defied all astrophysical logic. Dr. Ravi Kaur broke the silence. These isotope readings, they're not just unusual. They're pre-galactic. The pattern matches stellar yields that predate even population 2 stars. You're saying this thing formed before our galaxy? Asked NASA's Drive Nguyen, incredulous. I'm saying, Ravi replied, it may have been born from one of the very first stars that ever existed. Lena could almost hear the disbelief spreading across the line. A dead star from the first generation of the universe, and a fragment of it had just drifted into our solar system. She clicked open a magnified image of the ice grain sample, no larger than a fingernail. It looked ordinary, but inside its molecular lattice, the ratios whispered a story older than time itself. They ran the models again. The results didn't change. The numbers were perfect, terrifyingly perfect. By noon, the discovery was classified. The ice core sample was moved to Grenoble, a subterranean lab built for deep cryogenic preservation. Temperatures inside dropped to -180 degrees Celsius, the air tasting like metal and frost. Lena watched through the safety glass as a technician positioned the transparent cylinder beneath a blue scanning laser. Each pulse of light sliced through eons, mapping the molecular structure of frozen hydrogen, carbon, and dust. The readouts flickered, jumped, and then, a pattern emerged. At first, it looked like noise. But the repetitions were too precise. Rhythmic. Intentional. Is that a decay cycle? Someone murmured. Lena frowned. No. It's repeating modulation. Ravi leaned closer. That's not random. It's structured. A silence fell over the room, heavy and cold. The harmonics formed a perfect interval pattern, almost musical. No natural process created such precision. It was as if the atom's own decay whispered in time, like a dying star had encoded its final song into its ashes. They didn't speak of the word everyone was thinking. Message. Asterisk. 2 days later, a leak spread across social media. Someone had posted a blurred image of the data with the caption, "They found a pattern in the comet. The ice remembers." Asterisk. Within hours, the world lost its mind. News feeds screamed about alien DNA and messages from before creation. Conspiracy theorists declared that the comet was the seed of God, and protesters gathered outside research facilities holding signs that read, "Don't wake what's dead." Asterisk. Lena found herself in Geneva, standing beneath harsh lights at an emergency press briefing. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands trembled slightly as she spoke. "What we've found," she said carefully, "is not evidence of intelligence, but evidence of something ancient, material from a time before our galaxy was born. We believe fragments like 3I Atlas may have seeded parts of our own solar system with pre-stellar matter. A reporter raised a hand. Are you suggesting we're made from the debris of another universe? Lena hesitated. Not another universe, but perhaps another version of creation. That line went viral. Overnight, "Ghosts of the First Star" became the most searched phrase on Earth. As chaos spread online, Lena retreated to her lab. Sleep deprived, she reviewed the raw signal data again. During a late-night calibration run, she noticed something strange, a faint audio pulse hidden in the spectral noise. She amplified it. The speakers emitted a low, rhythmic hum, steady, almost like breathing. The waveform repeated every 5 seconds, paused, and repeated again. It was too regular to be random. Lena mapped it against known isotope decay cycles. To her shock, each pulse matched the half-life of IRON-60, down to the millisecond. But there was an extra beat, a sixth pulse, irregular and unaccounted for. A frequency that didn't belong to any element known to science. She sat motionless, feeling her pulse sync with the rhythm. Something in that ice was responding. Her inbox pinged, a message from Ravi, sent at 3:03 a.m. Greater than, there's something else. The spectral pulse aligns perfectly with Earth's rotation frequency. It's synchronizing with our planet's own time field. Lena froze. The hum from her speakers deepened, subtly shifting pitch. It now pulsed in time with the ticking of her wall clock. And for just an instant, the lab lights flickered. That night, she couldn't shake the image of the comet drifting through the void for billions of years, carrying a frozen memory of a star that burned before time itself. A messenger made of ice, crossing from one cosmic age into another, and somehow, impossibly, still alive. In the morning, she visited the archives of the old observatory. Dust-covered ledgers lined the walls, relics from the analog era. There, she found something that made her blood run cold. A Soviet-era logbook from 1978. It described a faint interstellar object that passed near Earth's orbit decades before Oumuamua. The note in the margin read, "Spectral spike repeating every 5 seconds. Possibly artifact. Unconfirmed. It was the same signature. This wasn't the first time a messenger like 3I Atlas had visited. Humanity just hadn't noticed before. Lena returned to her apartment overlooking Lake Geneva. Outside, the city lights reflected like constellations scattered across black water. She couldn't sleep. The hum still echoed in her mind. At dawn, Ravi called again. His voice was shaking. "We decoded the frequency curve. It's recursive, logarithmic spacing. The pattern mirrors the hydrogen-to-helium ratio from the cosmic background radiation. Lena, the signal inside that ice is a snapshot of the universe before stars even existed." She felt her heart stop. "You're saying it's the fingerprint of the first light?" "Yes," he whispered. "The beginning of everything." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ravi added, "There's something else. We isolated a second resonance. It's phase-locked to our observatory's own atomic clock. Whatever's in that ice, it's responding to us." Lena turned to her monitor. The spectral graph was live, pulsing faintly. Every time her heart beat, the line jumped. It wasn't just a fossil. It was a bridge, a connection between the first star and the species born from its ashes. She whispered to herself, voice trembling, "Maybe we're not the children of Earth. Maybe we're the echoes of something that burned before time began." At that exact moment, thousands of kilometers away, a power surge hit the Grenoble facility. Every sensor monitoring the ice sample spiked simultaneously. The nitrogen chamber hissed, pressure rising. A crack appeared across the frozen fragment. Within that fracture, something shimmered, faint, silvery, like trapped starlight beginning to breathe again. And as the lights flickered across Europe's grid, a whisper of radio static swept through observatories from Chile to Tokyo, carrying a single, repeating pulse. 5 beats. Pause. 6th beat. Over and over. The ghost of the first star had begun to speak. The hum never stopped. By the time dawn lit the peaks over Geneva, observatories across 3 continents had confirmed it, the pulse was real. A repeating radio emission at 5.003 Hz, first detected through noise channels, now strong enough to register on standard astronomy receivers. It didn't match any known satellite, pulsar, or solar activity. In Chile, technicians at the ALMA array stood in silence as their equipment began syncing automatically, dish after dish rotating in perfect alignment, not by command, but by the rhythm of that impossible pulse. Lena watched the live feed in her office, her hands trembling over the keyboard. "It's coordinating instruments," she murmured. "It's teaching them to listen." Ravi's voice came through the encrypted line, hoarse from no sleep. "The ice sample cracked last night. We think the release changed its spectral behavior. But it's not random, the pulse strength doubles every 12 hours, synchronized with sidereal time." She frowned. "That's Earth's rotation relative to the stars." "Yes. It's locked onto us." He hesitated before adding, "And Lena, it's spreading through frequencies we didn't even monitor. Infrared, gamma, even ELF bands. It's everywhere now." She leaned back, feeling the gravity of that word, everywhere. Asterisk. Outside, the world was beginning to notice. News anchors tried to explain what was happening in calm voices that trembled by the end of each sentence. "Scientists report an interstellar signal of unknown origin," became the day's global mantra. The hashtag first star signal asterisk flooded every feed. But in the labs, fear was beginning to outweigh excitement. At 8:42 Greenwich Mean Time, the Grenoble cryogenic chamber shut down abruptly. Not a failure, a command override. The logs showed no human input. When the team reopened the chamber, they found the ice sample changed. Not melted, not vaporized, changed. Its molecular surface had reorganized into crystalline layers, geometrically perfect spirals, repeating Fibonacci ratios across microscopic scales. A lattice structure that shouldn't exist outside computational design. "It's self-assembling," whispered one technician. Ravi sent Lena the scan. The image was hypnotic, a frozen mandala glowing in spectral blue, every line mathematically precise. "This isn't chemical," he said. "It's computational. The lattice encodes data density far beyond any digital medium. Whatever's in there, it's storing information." Lena's breath caught. "How much?" "Enough," he said, "to encode an entire genome." The room spun for a moment. A frozen structure carrying not just isotopes, but instructions. Asterisk. Later that night, Lena sat in her apartment with the lights off, watching the lake shimmer under pale moonlight. Her phone wouldn't stop vibrating, news requests, security warnings, private government contacts. She ignored them all. She thought of that hum. The way it pulsed like a heartbeat. Like something sleeping inside the ice had heard its name whispered across light years, and was now answering. At 2:03 a.m., the hum returned, louder this time. She glanced at her clock. The second hand wasn't moving. The entire apartment had frozen, the air still, time itself stretched. Her laptop flickered, then the display filled with symbols. Geometric patterns, rotating, repeating. She reached out, and for a fraction of a second, her reflection in the glass didn't move with her. Then everything snapped back. Time rushed forward again. Her pulse hammered. The hum faded. On her screen, only one phrase remained, auto-typed into her research log. Greater than, remember the first light. She stared at the words until dawn. By morning, governments had stepped in. The International Astronomical Union's servers went offline, for maintenance. NASA and ESA scrubbed their press releases. But you can't hide a signal that half the planet can hear. Amateur radio astronomers were already decoding patterns. Some claimed the pulse modulated into prime number sequences, others swore it contained harmonic ratios matching ancient scales. A musician in Berlin posted a spectral translation of the signal, a haunting 6-note melody that felt almost human. The clip went viral within hours. When Lena heard it, something inside her shifted. It was beautiful, sorrowful, infinite. Not a message of invasion or warning. It sounded like memory. Ravi called her from Grenoble, panic in his voice. "We made a mistake," he said. "The lattice structure isn't passive. It's replicating. We cooled it to zero, sealed it in a vacuum, but microscopic filaments are branching through the containment glass." "Alive?" she asked. He hesitated. "Not in a biological sense. But adaptive. It's converting energy, thermal, electromagnetic, into structural growth. It's building something." She was already in her car before he finished the sentence. By the time Lena arrived at the Grenoble facility, security had locked down the site. Military vehicles surrounded the perimeter. Inside, the cryogenic lab glowed with emergency red lights. The main chamber was dark, but inside, under layers of cracked glass, a web of shimmering threads pulsed faintly in rhythm with that familiar hum. She stood before it, unable to move. The structure wasn't random. It was forming a shape, spherical, fractal, self-similar at every scale. The data says it's mimicking stellar magnetic topology, said Ravi. It's recreating the field geometry of a star. She stepped closer. It's trying to become the thing that created it. The hum deepened, resonating through the walls. Lights flickered again. Power readings spiked across all monitors. The crystalline sphere inside the chamber flared, not with heat, but with luminescence. And for an instant, they saw it. A star, not blazing, but ghostly, suspended in the frozen dark. Its light rippled through the room like water. Then everything went black. When Lena woke, she was on the floor. Sirens wailed faintly. The emergency lights bathed everything in crimson. Ravi was beside her, dazed but breathing. The containment glass was gone. The sphere was gone. Only a faint residue of light drifted in the air, like dust motes that glowed from within. She looked at Ravi. Where is it? He swallowed hard. Gone. Or, maybe it was never meant to stay. They later discovered that every major observatory across Earth recorded the same flash, a simultaneous burst of low-frequency light, traveling at impossible velocity. It wasn't reflection or explosion. It was transmission. The Comet 3I Atlas, still drifting beyond the inner planets, had pulsed brighter at that exact moment. The data synchronized perfectly. Whatever had been trapped in that ice, it had returned to its source. And yet, in Geneva, Lena's instrument still whispered with faint static. The hum never fully vanished. She leaned close to the speaker, listening as the faint rhythm merged with her own heartbeat. 5 pulses. Pause. 6th, fainter, uncertain, like an echo fading into eternity. She closed her eyes, and for the briefest moment, saw it. An endless sea of darkness. A single light burning, lonely and beautiful. The first star, dying, reborn through the ice that carried its memory. And somewhere deep inside, she understood what the universe had been trying to say all along. We are not the beginning. We are the continuation of something that refuses to die. For days, the world refused to sleep. Every observatory, every radio dish, every high-altitude drone turned toward the same patch of sky where Comet 3I Atlas had vanished beyond the solar glare. What had once been a faint, dull rock now shimmered with a faint aura, not sunlight, but something deeper, something that pulsed with its own rhythm. At first, it seemed like a ghost image, a sensor glitch echoing across multiple instruments. But then the data came in from Juno, still orbiting Jupiter, independent confirmation of the pulse, same interval, same harmonic signature. The first star signal was back. Governments held press conferences filled with half-answers. NASA denied any evidence of non-natural intelligence, while the European Space Agency spoke cautiously about unprecedented isotopic events. But outside the official statements, the truth was unfolding in quiet laboratories and sleepless minds. Lena hadn't left Geneva in weeks. Her apartment had become a monitoring station, every screen filled with real-time data streams from colleagues around the world. The hum, that same pulse she once feared, now played continuously through her speakers, low enough to feel rather than hear. It no longer frightened her. It felt like memory. The Grenoble facility was still sealed, its ruins buried under lead and glass. But new data showed something impossible. The air inside the chamber, the air, not the residue, was no longer chemically ordinary. It carried anomalous isotopic ratios. Ratios that matched the comet's ice. Somehow, contact had rewritten matter itself. By late November, reports emerged from other labs that had handled fragments of the comet's dust. Electronic noise. Irregular magnetic fields, even spontaneous patterns forming in cryogenic samples that hadn't been exposed. One image, leaked from a Tokyo laboratory, showed a petri dish filled with frost that had arranged itself into perfect hexagonal filigree, identical to the Fibonacci lattice seen in the Grenoble scans. It was as if the pattern was teaching the universe to remember itself. Asterisk. Lena kept hearing the phrase echo in her mind, remember the first light. But what did it mean? She dove into every record she could find, ancient cosmology, myth, pre-astronomy. Babylonian texts describing a shard of the first dawn, Egyptian hymns to a star that died but still sang. Even the earliest human carvings seemed to carry the same motif, spirals, radiating from a single core. It wasn't just history. It was memory, written into consciousness itself. At 3:11 Greenwich Mean Time on December 3, a new anomaly appeared. Not in the sky. In human biology. Hospitals across Europe reported a spike in EEG irregularities, low-frequency oscillations appearing in sleeping patients, synchronized across thousands of kilometers. The waveform matched the 5.003 Hz pulse from the comet. Some scientists dismissed it as mass coincidence. Others knew better. The pulse wasn't broadcasting to us anymore. It was resonating through us. When Ravi finally reached her, his voice was hollow with awe. We tested the isotopic ratios from the Grenoble site again. There's something new, carbon isotopes rearranged at atomic scale. But it's stable, self-sustaining. Lena, it's integrating into organic matter. She froze. Meaning, he hesitated. Meaning whatever was inside that ice isn't gone. It's rewriting what it touches, aligning it to the same ratios that existed before the sun was born. Before the sun was born. The words hit her like gravity. She looked at the spectral models again, overlaying the isotopic map of the comet against stellar evolution charts. The ratios didn't match any known formation in our galaxy. The data implied it came from a population 3 star, one of the first stars to ever exist. The ice wasn't just ancient. It was pre-galactic, a relic of a time before the Milky Way. That meant the lattice inside the ice, the data, could be the preserved signature of the first luminous event in the universe. The moment creation itself learned to form order from chaos. The ghost in the ice wasn't a being. It was memory made matter. Asterisk. And now, it was awake again, through us. In early December, strange weather swept across the northern hemisphere, auroras appearing as far south as Morocco, electromagnetic bursts flickering through communication networks. Satellite telemetry revealed faint structures in the ionosphere, geometric, fleeting, self-organizing. Each formation reflected the same ratio, 1.618. The golden spiral, the fingerprint of creation. When Lena stood outside that night, the sky was alive with color, green, violet, gold. The hum seemed to come from the air itself now. It resonated through the snow beneath her boots, through her heartbeat, through everything that had ever learned to move, to breathe, to think. The comet, now receding into deep space, flashed one last time, a single, blinding pulse recorded by every telescope on Earth. That light carried data. In its frequency spectrum, a hidden modulation, a repeating binary pattern that, when decoded, revealed a sequence of chemical elements. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. The 6 elements of life. The same order encoded in human DNA. The universe hadn't sent us a message. It had sent us a reminder. Every atom, every molecule, every heartbeat, all of it traced back to that first star that lived, burned, died, and scattered its ashes across infinity. We weren't born from the earth. We were carried here, the children of a cosmos older than memory itself. Lena uploaded the final data set, her hands trembling not with fear, but with reverence. The hum pulsed once through her speakers, softer now, fading. Somewhere, deep in interstellar darkness, Comet 3I Atlas drifted silently toward the void, carrying the last whisper of its creator. As the signal faded from the instruments, she whispered into the quiet room, not as a scientist but as something far smaller and infinitely more connected. We remember. And for a heartbeat, just one, the stars outside seemed to pulse in response. The hum was gone, but the echo remained, not in the machines, not in the sky, but in us.